What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube, and today I've got some TV talk. That is right, I have not done a TV series segment on this show in quite a long time. I've been sticking mostly to movies when I'm doing reviews, and I wanted to do a TV show talk segment again for the first time in a long time because we had another classic reboot, reimagining, kind of spiritual sequel, I guess you could call it. It's definitely a sequel, but it is a sequel to a show that I didn't really watch much in first run, but reruns caught my attention, and I've since binge-watched this show dozens of times. It is That 70s Show. So when I heard just last year that they were going to be doing a That 90s Show, I thought, okay, you're taking one of my all-time favorite shows and most underrated comedies for me, and best comedies of that generation, and putting it into a 90s backdrop, which is my favorite era growing up in, obviously being an 80s child and growing up in the 90s. This seemed like perfection to me, but I was very afraid of what they could possibly do, because nowadays, a lot of reboots, requels, sequels, spiritual sequels, they kind of become either overly immersed in fan service, or they are just not very intriguing. They're kind of just boring and letdowns. So I wanted to review this show and let you guys know what I thought of it. That being said, this show, I'm not going to get into the writers and directors and producers because every episode I think is different. It's hard to do a crew credit for a TV series because usually they're directed and written by all different people or a big-ass writer's room, so I'm not going to give credit for those. But this show is starring Kurtwood Smith as Red Foreman, Deborah Jo Rupp as Kitty Foreman, and Kelly Haverda. Haverda? I hope I'm saying that right. Kelly Haverda as Leia Foreman, which is Eric and Donna's daughter. So, no spoilers. I'm going to give you guys this spoiler-free, but there were some things that were in the trailer that's been shown a billion times that are very obvious, right? So we know that Eric and Donna are together. We know they have a daughter, Leia, which is on brand for Eric's character, to name her Leia after Star Wars. And Leia comes to visit her grandparents, who are Red and Kitty, once again back from the original show. And she likes it there in the old house, and she winds up convincing Eric and Donna to let her stay at her grandparents' house for the summer. So she meets a new group of kids who once again inhabit Donna's house and Eric's house and kind of run back the original idea of the original show. So it is now Eric's daughter and their friends kind of redoing what we saw in the first series. Now, right away, I gotta say, this series is 10 episodes, so it's a short first season, about 24 minutes apiece. I think the opening show is a half an hour, and the other episodes are like 22 to 24 minutes, so very, very fast. I watched this entire series in about 3 hours and 20 minutes. Again, 10 episodes, under a half hour each, very fast and easy watch, and that is a big positive, because whether you like this show, love this show, aren't sure about this show, even if you don't like it, there's enough to hang on to as a fan of the original, and the pacing is really quick. So, number one, positive-wise, I have to say, cameos. You get a lot of cameos, and a lot of these are already in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything. I will say that another one of the main characters in this new 5 or 6 friend group is another offspring of another one of the original characters. I won't say which one that is because we don't see that in the trailer, but obviously you got Eric and Donna's daughter, so you're going to get a lot of cameos. We saw in the trailer we get Kelso, we get Jackie, we get Fez, we get obviously Red and Kitty are main characters. So we get Leo is in the show as well. You get Fenton in this show as well. So there are a lot of cameos, and I'll save a couple for surprises as well. But you get a lot of cool cameos that call back to the original. So if you're watching this show for nostalgia and kind of waiting to see how they're going to spin off the characters we grew up watching, this does it in a pretty nice job. All the characters are presented with similar dialogue, similar character affectations. A lot of their progressions make sense. The old characters are written in a very familiar way, and the new characters are written in a similar way, where it differentiates them as characters, but it makes them feel like part of the original show. And that is one of the biggest positives that I have, probably the biggest positive, is authentic writing. So this show manages to be set in the 90s, and it feels very 90s authentic. You get a lot of callbacks. Not only are you getting nostalgia callbacks to that 70s show, but you're getting nostalgia callbacks to the 1990s with different musical artists and movies and toys and, like things around the house that happened in the 90s. So you're getting the best of both nostalgic worlds here because they're writing authentically for the 90s and also writing authentically for that 70s show. So you're getting, again, the original characters feel like themselves still, and they've wrapped up a lot of their storylines in a very satisfying way, and they still speak and think and act like they used to, and you're also getting a lot of those callbacks to the 90s. So you're getting your childhood in two different ways. I'm really a big fan of how this is written. There's a couple times that I laughed out loud and chuckled to myself. I binge watched this all in one sitting. I finished work that day and it was raining outside, and I figured, you know what, I'm going to sit here and see if I like this. And I found myself halfway through and figured I might as well finish it. So that tells you right there that it was an easy watch for me, and that I really enjoyed seeing all the characters. And a few of them pop up in little surprising moments that I won't spoil, but you get reintroductions to the characters you love, and you get introductions to the childhood that you remember in this world. Like I said, easy watch, short episodes, short season, quick-paced episodes. A lot of stuff happens pretty quick, so that is very positive. The style as well. The style feels, once again, like that 70s show. You get the circle. You get an upstairs circle and a downstairs circle. You kind of get the old circle they're doing. You get a lot of these transitional things they use, where they use like one-note songs with little like graphics, like not animations, but like graphics of the characters doing stuff to transition the scene from one shot to the next. They keep that style. So it's a lot of colors. It's a lot of characters doing quick motions. It's a lot of the quick musical hits. Everything feels like you're watching that 70s show, but not in a way that feels pandering. You're watching that 70s show, but you are watching the next progression of that 70s show. Now for a couple of negatives. Background characters. I feel like a majority of, I can't even remember if there are 5 or 6. I'm trying to think in my head now. They're either 5 or 6 of the new friends, and I have to say they're relatively uninteresting. They start toward the end of the season, to build up some of these relationships and watch these characters connect. But aside from them being kind of in the basement together and one of the couples being in a relationship, you really don't get too much that excites you, you know? They do some nice things with, I really enjoyed Kelly Haverda as Leia. I liked her a lot. She was the main focus, obviously, of the new characters. And I like her progression. She felt like, more like Eric's child than Donna's, but you got a nice progression of her. You also got one of the descendants of one of the other old main characters that had a nice little relationship plot twist with one of the main characters. Like I'm not trying to spoil anything here, but you get a nice descendant of another character that has a pretty good story arc. But I feel like most of the main characters, the new main characters, the new kids, are not very well fleshed out. They're kind of one note. They're kind of just like, okay, let's check this box and fill this ethnicity. Let's get some racial diversity in this friend group. Okay, that's cool. But I don't feel like they really stand out that much on their own, at least not compared to the original cast, which is iconic for me, and at least not toward the end of the season. In the last 2 or 3 episodes, you get some character building, you get some bonding between characters that you didn't really see interact all season, and that feels nice, and they're building towards something. But I feel like it took them a while to get there, and I feel like by the time we do get there, it feels like the season is over. And that is kind of my next negative, is relationships. You see the group interacting together as a group as a whole, and again, they're fine. All the actors are pretty decent. All the new actors do a good job, and they all have good moments. They all have good jokes. They have some good chemistry together as a whole, but you don't really get a lot of them one-on-one, one-on-three stuff. Like you don't get the smaller groups too much. You find yourself rooting more for the trademarks and the old characters than you do being interested in the new characters. And that I think is a flaw, is they wrote a little bit too much for the past generation and not as much for this one, but I understand how it's hard to fit in both. I just don't feel like toward the end of the season, you get a couple of nice cliffhangers where you get some good relationship building, and they're setting up, obviously, for what I think is going to be a season 2, and I hope it does get greenlit. But you find some things rushed. There are some characters that are connecting now that rush into some things, and you go, wait a minute, you guys just connected 1 episode ago. What are we doing here? Like, you guys went from, like, not talking at all the entire time to now being best friends or whatever, interests or whatever it is, all of a sudden at the end of the season. They had 10 episodes. You could have taken, establish your characters for 3 or 4 episodes as a whole, and then take the last 6 and make a, interpersonal, interconnected series. And I don't feel like a lot of the kids got that until 2 episodes left. and then all of a sudden you're going, well, that's a good twist, but it didn't really feel earned. It didn't feel like as a viewer you took the journey with them because they took it way too fast, and they took it, I think, largely off camera. So I do have some qualms with the writing and the pacing of how the characters were written toward the end. It got really strong, but in the beginning it was a little bit weaker as far as character-based stuff. But overall, again, I think this was a fun watch. It's quick, it's easy, it's romantic for your childhood, it's romantic for the show, it's authentic to both its time periods in the original cast and the period that it's set in now, the 90s show. All the characters feel like the characters, they feel like themselves. Really enjoyed the writing overall, I really enjoyed the acting overall, I really enjoyed a lot of the nostalgia and callbacks, and I really want to see this go to a season 2. I hope that it gets all the views that I think it's going to get, and I think we're going to get more, and I think if they continue on the path they ended on in the last 2 or 3 episodes of the first season, I think we're going to be in for an even better second season. But all in all, if you like that 70s show, watch this even just for the original stuff, the original characters from back in the day, but you may get some stuff you like to build on in this one as well. So I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. I liked it overall. Room for improvement, sure, but I had a fun, easy time watching it, and I think you will too. Tell me in the comments below if you did watch this show already. Were you a fan of that 70s show, and did you like that 90s show? Please tell me in the comments, and please like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any other, and I forgot to say this is on Netflix right now, so Netflix is the place to watch this show if you have not watched it yet. If you have, tell me if you've liked it, and if there are any other shows on Netflix or any other streaming platforms that you would like me to review in the future for TV Talk segments, and you want to see more of these series breakdowns, let me know in the comments below what I should watch, and I will check it out and bring you guys that very soon. I'm bringing you guys another video on Saturday, Pittsburgh Steelers offensive end-of-season breakdown, so if you're looking for that, come back on Saturday, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.